Hi everyone, it's Allison and I'm back with another 31 Days of Tarot Challenge prompt. I just recorded the Desert Ireland one a day late, and I'm going to jump ahead now and record a couple days in advance because I know how bananas my week is going to be. And I'm not sure, I might jump on to do a couple other little things or maybe a topic or two of my own, because I looked down the list. I just briefly glanced down the list, and I might combine some because there are some that I just don't have that much to say about personally because my practice is just really so personal and meditative, and yeah, so we'll see how it goes, and then hopefully I will keep up making videos when the mood strikes after January and when I actually have something valuable to say or interesting to say. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so in between, so I did Desert Island just now, and I'm going to be uploading that in a minute. My favorite spread, don't have one. Whatever suits me in the moment, usually 3 cards. Um, just to keep it simple. I don't usually do humongous spreads. I did do a big year ahead spread with a card for every year, every month that I'm going to look back at. But I don't do very big ones, and just take it as the mood strikes. So I wouldn't say I really have a favorite right now. Do you use the tarot for mediumship readings? I'm going to say no, because I'm not entirely sure what that means. So my answer must be no. I'm not sure if mediumship means the same thing to everybody. I sometimes think of that as being like connecting with people who've passed away, but maybe that's wrong. And I don't know. I guess I'm kind of ignorant about that. So I'm going to say no. 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 Okay, but this is the one I'm going to talk about. The one place in the world you'd love to read tarot and why. And I'm going to cheat and do 2 places because I really couldn't decide. I'm really lucky in that and when I talk about reading tarot, I mean just like using it for self-reflection and meditation and figuring out my own life. I do sometimes read for other people when they ask me to. I do really enjoy it. I wouldn't say I'm particularly practiced at it, and I'm very conscious of the fact that I feel quite shy about it in a lot of ways still, even though I'm making these YouTube videos. But I know the people who are finding these videos get it, and maybe other people around me in my life might not. So that's enough of that. But I can pull my cards out in really cool places. I live on a river, like basically in a park, which is amazing. My family has a place up in a national park, or right adjacent to a national park. So there's some of the most just beautiful, stunning views, and on the Great Lakes, and it's just magical there. So I'm so grateful to be where I am, and just like it's so easy for me to get into nature and just like sit under a tree and do my thing where I am. Although I won't today because it's very cold. When I think about the places where I'd really like to, that's the kind of place that comes to mind, where I'd like to use my tarot cards where I never have. So the first, and I also chose a deck to go with each place, although it's kind of interchangeable. I still am not entirely sure which one would go with which, but we'll just choose one. Just these 2 decks make me think of these 2 places. So the first is Carmana Park in British Columbia. And for that, I was like, I would take my Greenwood Tarot there because it's so naturalistic. Carmana Park is home to just enormous trees. There's a boardwalk through so that you don't damage the roots of these trees that are hundreds of years old, and 25 feet wide at the trunk. They're just spectacular. But if you hike in further, then you go to paths off the boardwalk, and there's this one place that I came to. I mean, this actually kind of reminds me of it, the World Tree. The way the sun was coming through the leaves, and I just was so moved. And it's so funny because I went back after my hike. I was out there for a month taking this ecology course, and the woman who was running the course said, "Oh, you did the Carmana hike?" And I said yes. And she said, "Did you go beyond the boardwalk?" And I said yes, on the paths. And then she said, "Did you come to this magical place?" And she just sort of described it perfectly, like it was so beautiful. So if I could find that spot again and take this deck, just me in this deck, and just sit and just absorb the beauty that is, sorry, covering up the titles, that is Carmana Park. One of the instructors when I was out on that ecology course said, the thing about Canada, we're so young. And when you go to Europe and you see like the castles and the old buildings and the cobblestone streets, and that's their history. Well, in Canada, these old growth forests, like this is our cathedrals, right? This is our castles because we're such a young country. But what we have is so unique and it's so beautiful, and we have to value it because if we don't take care of it, then and one of the things I also learned is that replanted forests are not the same. They don't grow the same. The same species don't come back even after 50 years, 100 years. So we have to value those things like people value their cathedrals in Europe. And the second place also was a place, this is a place I also went to before I knew anything about tarot, really. And it's in the United States, and it's Yosemite Park in California. And man, we started in Tahoe, my husband and I, and Lake Tahoe, and then we knew we were going to Yosemite, and people were like, "Oh, you're from Canada. What are you doing after you go to Tahoe? Or what are you doing after you leave Tahoe?" And we said, "Oh, we're gonna drive down and spend some time in Yosemite." And they were like, "Oh, you're so lucky. If I could do that this second, I would." And it was just so incredible. I follow Yosemite Park on Twitter just to see what's happening in the park. And on the night before our last night there, I'm gonna actually tell you, so I would take the Wild Unknown there. I haven't talked much about this deck. I feel like there's kind of a bit of a Wild Unknown backlash now. That people are like, nah, it's too much hype. It was overblown. But not for me. It's perfect for Yosemite, I think. And the night before we were about to leave, my husband and I were sort of hiking around. There's all these waterfalls. It's dark, but just like taking it all in. And the sun was setting. And I said to my husband, you know what this is like? You know what being here is like? And he said, like religion? And I said, yes, that's exactly what it's like. He was feeling exactly the same way I did, and I feel like the Wild Unknown really exemplifies it. I got this deck when I was just starting out in tarot. I walked into an art store that had a copy. It's the first edition. And I knew I was interested in tarot. I knew I was working sort of through it. And I just bought it. Like I think the Emperor card, which maybe was the first card that came up. Yeah. And I was like, that's a deck. That's the deck I want. I didn't know anything. Like these pip cards meant nothing to me. I didn't care. I loved it then. And now, of course, I love it even more because I can actually use it. And I just think it's every bit as beautiful as the first day I bought it. It's just a fantastic deck, and I would take it with me to Yosemite, along with probably 10 other decks. And if I had the opportunity, and just stay there and read and read and read and just soak it all in. But these two texts really bring me back to nature, and so that's what I would choose for these beautiful places. And so, yeah, if I think about the places I'd most like to be, it's outside in nature by some great big trees, just soaking it all in. So those are my picks, and I can't wait for a couple days to pass so I can see what other people say as well to this prompt. So I hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you later.